Thanks to an actual honest-to-God leak, we have more information on a couple brand new projects that Xbox Game Studios and Global Publishing are working on. And could Xbox's next Bethesda-level acquisition happen as early as Monday? There's a lot here to talk about, so let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? It's Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. I hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend, and if you guys can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and please share this out on social media. You guys are awesome, and thank you for the continued support. It certainly seemed like this week was the week of rumors, leaks, and speculation. Leaks about games that Xbox Game Studios were making, new projects that we had no idea about, which we'll be discussing later in the video, and the rumors and speculation about a brand new Xbox acquisition on the level of Bethesda, maybe even beyond Bethesda, that everybody and their mothers seem to be talking about on Twitter. And if you head on over to Google and type in Xbox acquisitions, you will get a ton of articles from many different websites talking about how Xbox is primed and ready to announce a major acquisition as early as this week. I mean, just as an example, here's the title of the article that comicbook.com posted a couple days ago. Xbox reportedly about to announce a major acquisition. And here's another one from Game Rant. Rumor, Microsoft might be preparing another Bethesda-level acquisition. A new rumor indicates that Microsoft may be preparing a big Bethesda-level acquisition that will have internet lawyers debating monopoly laws. So all these articles have fueled the speculation, and then you combine it with people on Twitter using eye emojis, thinking that they've heard something, that Microsoft is about to acquire a new company on the 1-year anniversary of them acquiring Bethesda, and you have this hysteria surrounding Xbox and the next publisher they might acquire. And yeah, people love to speculate and fantasize about Xbox buying Take-Two, for example, and completely owning Grand Theft Auto, and what an exclusive Grand Theft Auto 6 would do for Xbox and Game Pass. Or perhaps what it would be like if Xbox came into ownership of WB Games and Microsoft could use Rocksteady and WB Montreal as their superhero developers to counter Insomniac's exclusive PlayStation games like Wolverine and Spider-Man 2. People daydream about this stuff, and it spreads like wildfire on Twitter. But of course, when you actually delve into it and see the sources that comicbook.com is using to run their rumor, which obviously they want clicks, it's just a single tweet from a dude who collected a whole bunch of other tweets that could be referring to anything, and that's where they get the whole rumor about Xbox buying studios. And here, Game Rant, they say that some Xbox fans have taken a look at Scalzi's tweet, which has been live for a matter of hours, and connected to some other tweets from important Xbox community members and other notable reporters. For example, in a now deleted but captured for posterity tweet from Xbox social media manager Stein, he implies that his mind is blown with a fun GIF after leaving a work meeting. This and a couple others have been made in the past few days. Look, we all know what these websites want. They need traffic. Comicbook.com, Game Rant, they posted this article because people are going to click on it. Everybody wants to see Xbox acquire a new publisher because it's exciting. But there's no actual verifiable evidence. There isn't reporting from the business sector like Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg when they outed that Microsoft was interested in Discord. It's just a collection of tweets from people in the Xbox community that could mean anything, or people trying to pretend they're insiders and get in on the fun. So is Xbox going to be making an acquisition? Yes, they are. At some point in the future, we know Xbox will acquire more studios because they need to feed the beast that is Game Pass. Phil Spencer and CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, said they would, so it will be no surprise whenever it does happen. Is there going to be a Bethesda-level acquisition this week, as early as Monday? I do not think so. I think it's nothing but hysteria. People have convinced themselves that something is going to happen. It's just a bunch of fan fiction and wishing that something will happen. I don't think anything is going to happen this week, and I'm sorry if I'm killing your dream about Xbox acquiring Take-Two as early as Monday. But with that all said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope something huge happens this upcoming week, but I don't think anything will. Now, moving on to something that is 100% real thanks to the NVIDIA leaks and reporting by my buddy and co-host of the Xbox 2 podcast, Jez Corden of Windows Central, he wrote an article detailing 2 new projects that Xbox Game Studios and Global Publishing are making right now, one being Project Indus and the other Project Cobalt. Now, Project Indus seems to be a 4X simulation game, and Jez has this to say about it. I first heard about Indus back in the spring of 2021, although it was only able to confirm that the project is definitely going ahead thanks to the GeForce leak. Project Indus is a 4X strategy game being developed by Oxide Games, known for its work on real-time strategy title Ashes of the Singularity. Although Indus's hook remains to be seen, the gameplay sounds very similar to what you experience in Civilization, with turn-based strategic elements alongside city building, empire advancement, espionage, diplomacy, warfare, and so on. From what I understand, Indus is indeed targeting the Microsoft Store for PC, Xbox, and Steam. Now, 4X strategy games aren't for me. I don't really enjoy Civilization, but I know a lot of people do. These games are big on PC, and we know Microsoft wants to expand their presence on PC, especially with Game Pass. So let me know in the comments below if you're interested in a Civilization type game from Oxide Games exclusive to Xbox through Xbox Global Publishing. But the bigger title here is Project Cobalt, which is inXile's FPS RPG. Jez Corden says, as teased by inXile Entertainment itself on Twitter, the Wasteland Studio is working on a new FPS RPG, although details remain shrouded in mystery. What we do know is that it's codenamed Cobalt, and believe it has a steampunk style inspired by the Industrial Revolution-inspired tech. Expect steam engines, zeppelins, retro-futuristic robots, dark Victorian-era streets, and more. And the above concept art was shared by inXile concept artists, and we have reason to believe that it's representative of the environmental style inXile is gunning to deliver. VentureBeat editor Jeff Grubb previously stated that inXile's next game could be targeting a 2023 release. But there's even more than this. Jez even goes on to mention that Mojang is working on a couple new Minecraft projects, and World's Edge is working with some partner studios to deliver more titles in the Age of Empires universe. In fact, here's the conversation that Jez Corden and myself had on the Xbox 2 podcast yesterday, where Jez goes over in greater detail these 2 projects that we just talked about and even more stuff coming to Xbox in the future. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and check out the Xbox 2 podcast, which we normally do every single Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cobalt, Project Indus, that you actually went more in detail on in an article that you know a lot of stuff about. So what do you think about these Xbox leaks, Jez, and what can you tell everybody about Project Cobalt and Indus?
Well, first of all, like the whole NVIDIA leak was hilarious in a way. Like, it had a bunch of games that are real, obviously real, like Project Holland, which is Fable, like you said, Project Woodstock, which I think is Forza Horizon 5, and a bunch of other code names. And then it had some like more interesting things, like Chrono Trigger remake, I think was one, and like a bunch of other stuff. And NVIDIA was like, oh, these games are speculative. Also, God of War for PC was on there, which is interesting. But I think like it is important to note the fact that for some of these games, developers are using GeForce Now for development in the sort of COVID era. Like, they're using the remote play features to test games. So like most games are built for PC initially and then, get ported and stuff. So some games probably aren't real, obviously. So some of them were speculative, they said, and all that sort of stuff. It's hard to say which is real and which isn't real for the whole thing, but there are games on there that I do know are real. For like example, we talked about Project Cobalt on a previous episode of Xbox 2 podcast, I think. Project Cobalt is inXile's FPS RPG, which they themselves teased on Twitter a couple of months ago, last month, I don't know. inXile teased FPS RPG. Since discovered its codename Project Cobalt. Since discovered that it's a steampunk kind of game. And also the concept art that one of the contractors shared on their ArtStation profile, I compared it to some artwork that I saw from the game that hasn't leaked yet, and it's the same sort of thing. So I'm inclined to believe that ArtStation piece is representative of what kind of environments they're going for. It looks like Victorian England almost. like London kind of architecture, a lot of pollution, industrial revolution era. There's like steam engines everywhere. There's like I saw robots, like steampunk robots, zeppelins, giant zeppelins in the sky with like retro futurism and all this sort of stuff. Very, very intriguing. So that's like Project Cobalt from In Exile. In Exile is like rapidly growing their studio. I was also told that I think Jeff Grubb said that Cobalt was targeting 2023 in an earlier piece. I've heard that Cobalt could go to 2024, um, depending on how much they expand the scope. I was told that since In Exile was acquired, they've expanded the scope of the game immeasurably. Huge amount with Microsoft's funding. They've grown the studio. They've acquired a bunch of new talent. They're working with a load of contractors as well to build the game. And it sounds like really awesome, and it sounds like a really ambitious project from In Exile. And maybe we'll see it next year at E3, or maybe we'll see it at the TGAs. Who knows? But that's one thing to look out for.
Were they stealing developers from other companies as well to help build this project?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like typical of the industry in
Yeah.
that kind of area. Like people jump around studios a lot, especially artists. Like you don't need a concept artist once you go into full production unless you're like working on multiple projects and stuff like that. So what a lot of concept artists do is they'll move from studio to studio, sort of freelancing and stuff like that. From what I understand, it depends. Like different cities have different cultures, right? um, when it comes to that kind of thing. And every state has its own labor laws too, which also change the way like the developer culture works. But um, but it sounds like it's pretty deep in development, and hopefully we'll see it in the next year or two.
Is this
Um,
this isn't the only project NXL is working on, correct?
I believe it is.
Oh, it is
It's
the only one they're working on.
now they've finished they're shipping the last DLC for Wasteland 3 next month, and then I think it's full steam ahead on Cobalt. I don't think they have another project. Maybe they do, but I don't think they do right now. If they do, it's in like pre-production or whatever.
So what is your hype level for Project Cobalt then? 0 to 10. If you had to put a number
Uh,
on it now with the things that you know and everything.
it's quite high, like an 8 or 9, I think. I'm intrigued to know whether it's like a full-blown RPG where you make your own character and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. Um, or if it's going to be sort of like more like BioShock, where it's like a set character and a set story. Like, is it gonna go full blown RPG where you have like decisions to make and stuff like that, or is it just going to be sort of like where you get XP and level up, and it's sort of like a softer RPG? Is it going to go full Fallout, or something more like BioShock? I'm interested to know some of the more details, but the environment seems really cool. Like steampunk's not the most explored genre, and also like if they're taking a lot of inspiration from Victorian era London and the Industrial Revolution in England and stuff, I'm interested in that because I'm from the West Midlands where the Industrial Revolution started. So there's a lot of that in my culture, from England and stuff. So I'm interested for that reason too. But yeah, In Exile, a great dev. Wasteland 3 is amazing. The writing is hilarious and oftentimes shocking. Some of the stuff that happens in Wasteland 3 is amazing and subversive. So I'm pretty excited for Cobalt. And there was another code name in the NVIDIA GeForce leaks RAND called codename Project Indus, which is actually the code name that made me think the leak was real, because I first got information about Indus all the way back in April, and I was kind of like, well, if I'm pretty sure nobody else knew about this code name in the rumor mill. I never saw this spoken about anywhere from anyone. I never heard anyone tease it. So when I saw like Indus in that list, I was like, oh wow, this is legit, So Project Indus, Rand, I don't think this is your kind of game. Personally.
Doesn't sound like it.
No. So like this is one for Civilization fans. It sounds like Indus is a 4X strategy game with a turn-based, simultaneous turn resolution gameplay. So, like, basically, you expand an empire. I believe there's like going to be tiles and stuff. You position your units and then go to war. You know, it's that's what it sounds like. Um, Jeff Grubb, I think, shared on a podcast that Oxide Games, the devs who are making it, Oxide made Ashes from the Singularity, I think it's called, which is a pretty popular RTS. Um, they are poaching Civilization devs to make this game, so that sounds pretty exciting to me. Like, I love Civilization. I had to force myself to stop playing Civilization because it is that addictive. So that's Project Indus. But there was also a bunch of other games that I became aware of recently. Mo Yang's working on a couple of Minecraft games in addition to Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeons. There's also, like, I've heard that they're working with a bunch of indie games, on indie studios on smaller projects from all sorts of niche genres and stuff. I heard like there's side-scrolling beat 'em up on the way. I heard Microsoft's working on a MOBA based on an existing IP, which I'm not going to leak that right now, but there is a sort of like a casual sort of MOBA based on an existing Microsoft IP in the works too. There's there's what else is there? There's just so much. I'm starting to struggle to keep track of all the games that are on the way. It's like absurd how many games are on the way. So, it's a good time, man. It's a good time. Good time to be an Xbox fan, I think.